Welcome to Tim's Saying, a podcast inspiring you to grow, develop, and thrive through life's challenges. In this episode today, we are diving into how celebrating small wins can build momentum and lead to bigger success over time. Small wins, when recognized and celebrated, can lead to big transformations. I remember a time when I was in uni and I was feeling stuck when I was writing my dissertation. I was a mature student, so I didn't go to uni at the age of 18, 19. I went much later, in my late 20s. And during that time, I was working full-time, and I was also studying full-time. And also, I had some social life, just seeing family and close friends, because I think that's very important. And I was juggling all of these things. And when I was writing my dissertation, I had to read tons and tons of research paper and then write a paragraph and then rewrite that paragraph and then write a new paragraph and then rewrite that paragraph. We have all been there, I'm sure. And during that time, I was feeling so overwhelmed. I was like, is this even going to happen? Is this paper going to finish? There was a short time that was like, maybe I won't meet the deadline. And I really wanted to do well. It's like, you know what? If I'm going to do this, I want to give my best. Whatever grade I get, I want to know and I want to be able to say to myself that I've done the best that I could. And during that time, it hit me. I was like, let me just pause. So then I started by focusing on just one small task. I thought, let me focus on writing this one paragraph. Let me focus on just writing, let me just focus on a quarter of the intro, an eighth of the intro. In fact, there may be a day that was like, let me just write one line. If I can get one line in today, that's good enough for me today. And that small action, breaking it down, it gave me the confidence and the motivation to tackle the rest of the project. And that's the power of small wins. Doing something small, committing to it, achieving it, and celebrating it. Small wins are tiny, achievable steps that lead you toward bigger goals. They're incremental accomplishments that help you make consistent progress. And there's a psychology behind small wins. When you achieve something, even if it's small, your brain releases dopamine. This feel-good chemical. It boosts motivation, satisfaction, and happiness, encouraging you to keep going. There's a research by Dr. Amabile in 2011, and she found that progress, even in small doses, significantly boosts creativity and overall performance. In her research, she observed that people who made small, visible progress were more motivated and had a more positive outlook in life and in the thing that they are trying to accomplish. So maybe you're listening and you're a manager or you're leading a team. I want to encourage you to focus on creating environments that enable small, consistent progress that can lead to better morale and sustained productivity. Or maybe you're an individual here today. Maybe you are a student or you're an entrepreneur. And I want to say to you, track and celebrate small wins. Celebrate it daily. When you reflect at the end of the day, look back and I'm sure you will always find the one small thing to celebrate. No matter how small it is, it can foster a sense of purpose and drive. Let me give you some examples of small wins, because maybe you're listening today and you're like, Tim, I have no small wins. For a week, I've been overloaded with work. I'm behind with stuff, and I'm not seeing friends or family, or I'm not achieving this. Maybe you're writing something. And you're like, I haven't written anything at all. All of us have got one thing to celebrate. First of all, I don't want to be too deep, but first of all, you're alive today. Like, that's a small win. Or that's a big win, actually. The fact that, you know what, you put yesterday behind you and you're going to tackle and face today with fresh eyes, new heart, new mindset, that's a small win. Second, you're listening to this podcast. Okay, maybe you're one of my friends that I said, hey, come and support. I'm starting this podcast and thank you for tuning in. But maybe you're just typing it on Spotify or Apple Podcasts and you're like, motivational podcast or inspiring podcast. The fact that you want to improve and develop in yourself, that's a huge win, actually. That's not a small win because many people don't even choose to take that first step to their personal growth and development. They just stuck there on ground level and they're like, yep, I can't even move. So the fact that you're listening to this podcast today, you've chosen to do something about your growth. There's a book I highly recommend. It's one of the very first books that I bought. It's called The One Thing by Gary Keller. And the book is a great resource for understanding the importance of focusing on what truly matters and how accomplishing small tasks consistently, it can build and it can compound into this big success over time. Let me give you 3 reasons why small wins matter. Number 1, it builds momentum. Each small win builds energy and confidence for bigger tasks. Think of it like pushing a snowball down a hill. It starts small, but as it rolls, it picks up more momentum and it grows. Number 2, it increases motivation. Small wins increases motivation. Seeing progress, no matter how small, keeps you engaged and focused. When we see that we're making progress, it gives us that motivation to continue. Third reason why small wins matter, they shift our mindset. Celebrating small wins shifts your focus from perfectionism to progress. Maybe there's something that somebody needs to hear today. You don't have to be perfect. Not everything has to be perfect. And celebrating small wins will do just that. It will help you move your focus from perfectionism to real small progress. Rather than waiting for the perfect moment, you start recognizing how each step forward brings you closer and closer to your ultimate goal. How do you recognize and celebrate small wins? Okay, first, break big goals into just smaller milestones. Rather than thinking about the big picture all the time, for example, writing a book. I want to write a book. That's great. But start with small, manageable milestone. Let's say you are writing a book. Then how about write 300 words today? Write 200 words today. Write 500 words. I don't know what your ability is. But break it down and write it down on a piece of paper. Break it down to a smaller milestone. How else can we recognize and celebrate small wins? Acknowledge your progress daily. Use a journal or an app to track small wins or share it with somebody every day. At the end of each day, write down 3 things that you accomplished or 2 things that you accomplished. These helps you to stay focused on progress rather than feeling overwhelmed by what's left to do. Next, you can celebrate in meaningful ways. Share your wins with a friend. Reward yourself, whether it's a small treat, a small break somewhere, or some time to relax. Okay, I know some people go the extreme and it's like, oh, I've written 1 line now, my dissertation. I should go on holiday. Okay, don't do that. I don't think that's wise. But celebrate your wins. Celebrate your small wins because it reinforces positive behavior and it encourages consistency. As long as, and you have to be careful with this, as long as you're not simply driven by result, because I think what's more important is, as we talked about in episode 1, is the journey and the growth in that journey. This is what Tim's saying is all about. It's about looking at your growth and how you can develop. And as part of that is how you celebrate your small win. It reinforces positive behavior and it encourages you to be more consistent. Speaking of consistency, that's another way to recognize and celebrate small wins is to stay consistent. Repetition is key to building momentum. For example, committing to just 10 minutes of exercise each day, it will create a lasting habit. So if you're listening to this and you're saying, yeah, I really want to go back to the gym, I want to train, I want to work out, and I get this body, etc., I want to lose weight. Okay, start small. Maybe just go to the gym for 5 minutes or for 10 minutes. We're going to touch on building habits in the next few episodes. So make sure you tune in for that. There's a book that I recommended recently, and it's called Atomic Habits by James Clear. He shares the story of how small habits, like doing a few push-ups a day, it can snowball into bigger achievements. See, big results come from consistent small actions. Each day you make progress, no matter how small, it's a step closer to your ultimate goal. The small wins really matter. Even though sometimes they may seem insignificant, I'm aware of that. Sometimes you think, does it really matter that I'm celebrating my small win? Does it really matter that I'm writing this down and sharing it with somebody? Looking at the bigger picture, I don't think it matters. And I want to tell you that small wins matter. They're the building blocks of success. By stacking those small celebrations that you have, you're creating a foundation for bigger and greater achievements. There's a quote that said, "Success is the sum of small efforts repeated day in and day out." Wow. If you just think about that, success is the sum, is the result of small efforts repeated day in and day out, whether you feel like it or not. You celebrate those small wins. It will create significant change in where you are now and where you are going. Think of building a wall. You build it brick by brick. Each small effort, it might seem small at a time on its own, but over time, after a few days, few weeks, months, or years, it creates a strong, lasting foundation. Hey, I want to encourage you with this Bible verse. It says, "Do not despise the small beginnings, for the Lord rejoices to see the work begin." That's in Zechariah 4:10. This verse reminds us that even the smallest efforts are valued. They are part of God's bigger and greater plan to help us grow and succeed. So this week, I want to challenge you to set a small, achievable goal for yourself. It could be something as simple as writing one page of that book you've been meaning to finish, or doing 5 minutes of stretching every day. Maybe you hear and you're listening to this and you want to really invest in your physical fitness. Whatever it is, celebrate your progress. And share your small wins with me on social media at Tim Saying on Instagram. I'd love to hear how you're building momentum in your life and achieving success, one small step at a time. Hey, next week we'll be diving into the mindset shift, turning challenges into opportunities. Don't miss that one, and we'll see you at the next episode.